Spartanburg is hot. We don't need to stretch. I'm lewd, baby. Look at you. You put that LA hat on you, and everybody's catching strays, huh? Want to let you know, hey, we're doing our due diligence. I'm not trying to flex, but this is my show.
Cut to it. Cut to it. Let's get down to it. Cut to it. Cut to it. Cut to it. Let's get down to it.
Well, hit that subscribe button, please. Thank you. The Cut to It podcast has officially begun. This podcast will be 2 parts because we're really interested making sure to not take up too much of your time, but go in deep. However, be a little shallow. Not get stuck in the weeds, but we are gonna break go down all 32 teams, even though not all 32 teams had first round draft picks. We're going to use the first round draft pick to really just kind of summarize and what's going on, what you saw, what you didn't like. I try to stay out of the what I didn't like category. I just try to, I don't know if people have noticed, I've tried to really make sure I stay pretty positive about every and any prospect. And it's been tough for me, to be honest. I was raised to be a negative Nancy, so a negative Neil, right?
Well, here's the thing, too. If you get overly negative on someone's draft class, that can really only come back to bite you.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't completely know. You know more than I know.
And sometimes I don't even know.
Right.
And like I know a lot of things.
If you look back.
Football. I know a lot of things football.
Yeah.
I just want to make that I wanted to make that very definite. I know a lot about football. Outside of that, look. Oh, it sticks.
Yeah. But it's like if you look back, the Seattle, like the draft grades people like to give out, and I understand look at the eye roll. We're in a click culture, we're in a content culture. There's a demand for it. I get it. But then you have people who are like the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson's the worst pick in this draft. Bobby Wagner, you're taking a linebacker with a premium pick. These are the kind of takes people had day of that look foolish when they're hoisting the Lombardi 3 years later. So I do think being overly negative. Now you can question some decisions. I don't think
I'm fine with questioning. I think questioning is good.
Definitely.
Yeah. Let's start off. So first of all, I thought the draft really took a turn from a wow, what the heck, didn't see that coming, saw those coming, knew some things were happening behind the scenes, talked to some teams that really gave me some insight. During the draft in the last couple of years, I've heard things. Bro, this year, I learned a lot of things.
Like process and
everything. Like just the process, the thinking, the why, the how, value, devalue, overvalue, undervalue, and then just shopping, right? Yeah. Just going, hey, we have a pick, we need to fill it with someone. And then if teams kind of feel, I'm using the word wonky, when they're not sure, it's like, nope. Like, so before we start off, I'll give you an example of a team that's just feeling wonky about something. This whole top 10 and Jalen Carter. Man, teams were in the beginning were avoiding him. And I believe teams had Jalen Carter really, there's a number of guys that were slotted high, right? This process for next year's draft, you know when it starts for some teams?
Last draft, I would imagine. High school, what's the East-West Bowl? What's that Army-Navy?
That's great. That's great. Even further, you ready?
Let's hear it.
For some teams, the day the combine is over. They
Hmm.
start looking at the next year's prospects to get an understanding and to get a head start and to project the guy in the right position so they can start evaluating and see is a guy rising or falling.
Do you think that's why last year, really the last couple of years, you've seen heavy wide receiver, like top 10, top 12 picks, and this year it didn't start until 20 because teams in the past were like, listen, we don't love the guys projected to come out next year. We're not even sure we love this guy, but we like him more than the guys we think are coming out next year. Let's just grab him here.
No, I don't think that's the case for that particular situation for the wide receivers. If they don't like somebody or they're uncomfortable, hence what I started with Jalen Carter at number 9 with the Chicago Bears. What did the Chicago Bears do?
Traded down again.
They traded down, and one team traded up to grab him.
Mm-hmm.
To have Jalen Carter and what he's experienced, is he a hard worker? I wasn't in college with him, so I'm not going to say that I know for sure. All I can do is tell you what they have told me. And Steve, who's they? They be a lot of people. Bad English. Jalen Carter getting in that car accident that cost, I believe, 2 people their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And getting in a car, participating in reckless driving.
Right, yeah.
Right? It was not Jalen Carter driving the vehicle. It is not his responsibility to figure out if people had their seatbelt on. So I'm not getting into all that. And I'm also not shaming the kid because we all have done things at a young, middle, and older age that if someone was recording us, we would be ashamed of ourselves. So I'm not going to even go there. But teams utilize that instance as an opportunity to take him off their draft board because of some of the things that were stated and talked about prior to that incident.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm using the Chicago Bears as an example because the Chicago Bears said they didn't get into it, but they said that the production and the character, it was like putting 2 9-volt batteries together. It just wasn't lining up. So they felt to move back because he was the best next player available.
Oh, yeah. You could say that from picks 3 through when the Eagles got him at 10. There was an argument to be made. He was the singular best talent in the draft just from what he did on field.
Outside of a quarterback.
Sure. Yeah. But like that guy, I had a Will Anderson, like that was the debate that was happening prior to the accident, like you discussed, prior to the workout, which the pro
and I heard the workout wasn't that great. I heard the workout was pretty much overblown.
Yeah, we said that on this show.
Yeah, there was a longer workout than it needed to be. The guy who was organizing the workout, who I wasn't there, he may take offense to this because I've been to some of these pro days. Some of the individuals that are working the pro days sometimes overzealous. Yeah. How about that? I've seen some guys. I've seen some guys where they're holding the hand of the draft pick or the guy that's getting the tester. Hey, don't bend your knees. Hey, do this. It's like, bro, just stop.
Not your day. It's not your day.
Yes, this is not your day. This is not about you as the dude that's just holding the pole for somebody to do the vertical jump. Right. Bro, stop.
And I think the Carter pick's interesting because you really see the draft is a lot about risk assessment, and especially with that first round pick, because it's like the Bears have a Jalen Carter sized hole on their defensive line.
Yes, they
could use a player like him, but
yes, they can.
Do they have the culture, the locker room? And they may. I'm not saying they don't, but do they have?
No. The lack of picking them says they don't.
For sure, yeah, they don't feel comfortable with it. And
yes,
I don't. But the Eagles,
that's their choice.
Correct, and they have more holes than Jalen Carter too. So they went and they plugged a different hole. It's not like they only had one need in this draft. But the Eagles, a team that was just in the Super Bowl, a team that has every teammate Jalen Carter's ever played with, from Pop Warner until the rest of his life. I think they looked at it and they were like, we could probably make him work here. We've seen him work with these fellas at college. Yeah. So, I think this risk works well for us. And by the way, we're going to go get the rest of his friends too, just so we can have more eyes on him, just in case.
Well, some of his other friends dropped for those very same reasons.
I'm sure.
Like I was hearing guys were dropping for slow times, for character things. And I'm not going to get into the character stuff because I don't want to bash him, but I also think that, like myself, young men develop, and you also develop depending on the type of individuals that you have around you that can help you develop, that can improve you, that can that can help you look through a different color rose glasses, right? Mm. There's some people who the glasses they look through and the common sense isn't always common sense. I know that's for my case.
Absolutely.
For me, I did some stuff that I look back and I go, bro, what were you thinking? Like, why did you say that? And there's times when I go back and I can I'm going, I don't know. I don't have an idea.
Yeah.
But gosh, it was dumb. But let's before we get started, let's talk about our guy. Well, my guy, Xavier Smith. He gets a undrafted preferred free agent, signs with the Los Angeles Rams. I just want to congratulations to my guy Xavier Smith for getting picked up. But I want to talk about this because I was talking to his agency and they were asking me some questions. And so I thought this was a great opportunity for me and you to kind of chop it up and talk about it in front of the fans. Mm-hmm. Because we all know about the draft picks and Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yep.
But what we don't know is the difference between an undrafted rookie and then a mini camp or rookie camp tryout. And bro, there is craziness because he had some offers for tryouts. And I said, don't do any tryouts.
Right.
Because a tryout is, hey, we're going to bring you in with other rookies. And you have a weekend to show your best.
Right.
And also try to memorize the playbook and perform at a high octane level and yet go against other drafted, other preferred draft picks. Do you really believe they're going to give you an undrafted player a legitimate opportunity to show that you're better than that second round draft pick wide receiver no, they're not.
Right.
It's not in their best interest.
No, that's a great way for a GM to get fired if your second round
not a GM. No, not a GM. That's scout.
Oh,
that's
for
scout
sure, yeah.
Because they're going to say, hey, well, first of all, and look, it's business. And some people say, Steve, that's not true. That's not how it goes. Excuse me? Have you, Enron? Man. Huh? Twitter, Microsoft, Uber. Have you seen that Uber? Man, there's things going on. Lyft, there's some fugaziness. There's some, all over corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have a rookie mini camp or rookie tryout for a weekend, if that's your only offer, take it. But if you have teams that are saying rookie tryout or undrafted preferred or, undrafted free agent, go with the undrafted free agent. Because here's why. Let's just say hypothetically in a rookie camp, they're running 7-on-7. We talk about wide receivers. They're running 7-on-7. And that 7-on-7, as they run the 7-on-7, there's a time limit of practice. Right? It used to be no time limit, but now with the NFLPA, they've done it. What are you laughing at?
And now I'm thinking about like how long practice must have been for you before they changed those rules.
Oh yeah, man, we got in trouble one time and they had to redo. We had to redo practice in the middle of practice. We had to redo the whole practice.
Football coaches are such hard asses. It's unbelievable.
No, but how do you think when I say we had to redo practice, what do you think I mean by redo practice? How far back do you think?
Oh, I think they made you go back to the locker room and come back out to the field and start stretching.
Not that bad, but we had to do stretching.
Right.
So we're in the middle of practice and coach says, run this blankety blank all over from the top. And so everybody's like, all right. And he's like, no, from the top.
Yeah, the top, not the last play. The top.
Get in line and stretch. Stretch!
Yeah, get in your car, go home, get back in bed, get back out of bed, get back in your car, come in.
We had to stretch.
That's all.
It's the middle of it's a training camp, too. So
of course.
We're in Spartanburg. It's hot. We don't need to stretch. I'm lewd, baby. I am ready to go. My hamstrings don't need to be stretched. They actually say they need to be iced.
Yeah, those about to fall off the bone.
Yeah. Oh, man, it was horrendous. And we were already, I think, an hour and a half. Ended up being a 3-hour, 3.5, 4-hour practice. It was hard. So when I say time, in that time, they have, all right, we're going to run 10 plays here, 10 plays there. We're going to do this. We're going to do red zone, running game, pass game. We're going to do this, special team. So if you have 10 plays and the undrafted rookie free agent in those 10 plays, how many plays you think they going to give 10? They're not giving that guy, well, hey, right, I'll use, for giggles, let's use Carolina.
Okay.
You think Carolina is going to let an undrafted guy? You think they're going to let Steve Smith's pick get outshined by a rookie free agent?
Right.
We got to see all that Jonathan Mingo can do.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's 10 plays, Mingo getting 3 or 4 of them. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Oh, at least, yeah.
Right? Then you got the corners out of Oregon State. He got to get his, because we only have, 4 or 5 draft picks. So a lot of Carolina's draft picks were based off of free agency.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also depends on the situation of the team. When a team has 5 draft picks, but then you got a team like, I think the Green Bay Packers got 12 draft picks. Man,
Probably.
The Green Bay Packers was out there. They was out there like Pusha T, bro. They was slanking.
Patriots too, and it was something I wanted to bring up because
why?
Well, here's why. Because in previous years,
it's only 20 minutes and 39 seconds in.
You've mentioned the Panthers almost exclusively. Previous years,
I'm not trying to flex, but this is my show.
Big time. Previous years, and the reason the Patriots come to mind is because I've seen other teams do it too. Previous years, those 6th and 7th round picks get sold off for like nothing. Because guys don't even want that contractual obligation. They'd rather go. And agents in the past had told teams, don't take my guy here. We'd rather go to undrafted free agency.
Because we can also choose.
We can choose, and it's typically more money than what the 6th and 7th round guys are getting. if the agent negotiates it.
Yeah.
But this year you saw teams hold on to dear life. And what I was told is a weak draft. Hold on to dear life to those 6th and 7th rounders. Make all those picks.
All of them. I was
drafted,
wheeling and dealing. Like,
oh yeah.
What? You want to? I moved down 5 spots in the 4th round for 2 7th rounders.
Right. Yeah. And it was very
interesting. Give me 3 6 rounders. Give me 3 6 rounders.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see what it like. I thought my phone was broken because the draft ended, and I was like, "All right, let's see undrafted free agency," and it was crickets. Like it was typically, it's like, "Oh, this guy," and it was just moving at such a glacial pace. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, everyone just kept their picks."
Yeah, it was. I really learned and saw some things that I was like, "Wow." Right. And then also seeing teams give up so much just to move up to get their guy and guys dropping down. So with Xavier, using him as an example, man, some of these undrafted guys, they have opportunities. They're preferred. They're like a preferred walk-on who has the ability to earn a scholarship, but it's also extremely difficult to get that scholarship. It's not easily given. And so it could be one of those things where a preferred undrafted free agent is substantially better than a camp body. Because a camp body, oh my goodness.
I mean, think about like you go from camp body, let's say you make it through that, the team likes you. Then you've got all of camp, all those rounds of cuts. You have to get through the whole preseason. Now you're not even just going against the other rookies. You're going against the veterans also trying to keep their job, who I would assume are even ahead of the rookies they're fighting against. You have to fight what the roster goes from 90 to, I can't even remember the number
75.
since COVID. No, but total 50. Is it 54 now since COVID?
No,
I know it was 53. I thought they added one. I don't remember if they dropped
it. I think it has to do with quarterback. So it's 53. 46 on 46 on game day though. Yeah, active roster 46.
So you're going to beat out half the team to make it. Half the guys in camp, and it's probably those camp bodies don't count towards that 90. So it's probably closer to 100, 112.
No, it does. The 90 is down to So like right now they'll have maybe 100 or 105,
right.
But then they'll cut down before training camp. Right, for various reasons. So it's definitely some interesting.
It's a grind.
Some interesting things, man. Some interesting things. Right, I think. 47%, I believe, 47% of this year's draft were taken out of 2 conferences. I believe it's the SEC and ACC.
Doesn't surprise me.
Right? So it's just telling you that these 2 conferences, scouts are really saying if you want to be prepared for the National Football League, these 2 conferences are the conferences that we believe can prepare you for that. Now, it's not fair, but that's just how it is. Right?
Yeah, I mean, there are guys who rise because of the Senior Bowl, because of the Shrine Bowl, stuff like that didn't come from those conferences. But there were a couple of guys who got drafted decently early, like 3rd round, that didn't even get combine invites in the combine. And it's like, all right, so this guy balled out at the Senior Bowl. It was too late to get the combine invite.
Yep.
And still did enough. Someone I know visited 16 teams. So they've been living on a plane for the last month and a half up until that draft. And it's like, these are the things I don't think people really understand. Like even when we're talking to guys throughout this process, like Christian Gonzalez, Bryce Young, they've been living on an airplane for the last 2 months of their lives. Like the draft is kind of a huge relief for these guys. They're like, all right, I have one more plane. I got one more plane. That's it. And then I'm done.
Yeah. Well, I got some news to tell you, man. I think we helped some folks get drafted too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I don't hate that.
Yes, sir. So before we start, I'll do it when we do it.
35 minutes in before we start.
Yeah, I'll do it. All right. So obviously the Carolina Panthers' first overall pick is Bryce Young. Are you shocked?
No, not even a little. It is always interesting for me. I mean, when I was growing up, you learned who the first pick in the draft was 2 months before the draft.
Yeah.
And now there's these games that get played. Carolina traded up, and immediately it was like, oh, they're taking CJ Stroud. And that died about a month later. And then the game began. Well, are they going to take Richardson? Are they going to take Levis? Are they going to take Bryce Young? They end up settling on Bryce Young, and I think that was kind of locked in for the last few weeks or so.
I don't know.
Yeah, sure. But I like it. I like what for how few picks they had.
They did a really good job.
Yeah, I think they did a good job.
They did a really good job. Free agency. Obviously, go ahead and ask me how that went down because people want to know. And go ahead.
What, the Mingo?
The Mingo. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, let's hear it. I'm very interested.
Yeah. So, okay, what did you think? First of all, when I saw it, I'm on air and they showed it to me. I'm like, killing me.
What part am I asking about? I'm just very interested how it all came about. Like, were you were you lead scout behind closed doors for this?
No, I was not. So I've been talking to a lot of teams, just getting information, also understanding like how and why. I'm a very inquisitive person.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always asking why. And I think that throws people off sometimes because obviously doing this, I could come across like, oh, he knows what he's talking about. I do know what I'm talking about, but I also ask a ton of questions to a lot of people to really get an understanding. Am I off base? Am I, is this a wild hair? Where am I at? And so I got a call the morning of, which was, I was on the West Coast in LA. Mm-hmm. So I was in LA and Tepper calls me, who's your guy? Like, what? And I was like, I don't rank them. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well.
And this is day 2 of the draft, obviously, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have received calls probably from 5 teams about receivers. And they all ask me the same thing. Who do you have ranked? I don't rank them. Okay. Well, who the guys which guys do you like? And I'm like, I like them all. They all have something
right
that's attractive, that I like, that I would love to take from this guy and give it to him, and take from that guy and give it to him, right? And so obviously with all the guys that were available day 2 in the second round, Mingo was that guy for me that available for at the second round. I believe he is one of the old dying breeds when we look at wide receivers because of his height, the style in which he plays, which is my comp of Eric Moles.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Eric is a lot. It's not a lot, but slightly faster. And the other thing I noticed that people are talking about is, why does Steve keep talking about speed? Well, speed is only a factor if the other team has more of it. And speed is one of those things. If you are lacking in speed, man, you're dropping.
It's brutal.
Right? If you are lacking in something, they're dropping. Now, the league and teams are adjusting and making adjustments. That's why you're starting to see young, smaller guys like Zay Flowers going, Tank Dale, some of these guys. What's the other guy? Douglas from Liberty. Tyler Scott from Cincinnati, where some of these guys maybe play running back, but then they're switching. So just these niche or gadget guys, teams are saying, look, if you can play, we'll find a spot for you.
Right.
And so with Tepper asking me, I just said, hey, so I jotted down really quickly of the guys, and then I actually just ranked them, and then I sent the picture and sent the picture of my rankings. I wrote it on a notepad. All right, here's guys, and I sent it to him. And he was like, okay, thanks. Right? Had another team ask me, hey, what do you think? And
now at this point,
yeah.
Let's say this team that asked you is picking 1 or 2 spots above the Panthers.
It was, but see, here's the thing.
Do you give them a different ranking?
So no, I did not give. I don't want to say I didn't give them a different ranking, but I did. Not necessarily to trick anybody, more of just more of the honor system inside of me.
Uh-huh.
Right? I didn't want to be like, oh well, I just gave this team my thoughts, and I would just duplicate.
Right.
So I sat there and I was like, Now, the other team I gave rankings with some of the players that were still taken on there as well. So I rewrote some things. So each team varies on there because some of them are like, hey, we're not going to grab a guy until the 5th or 6th round. So what guys do you like in there? Right. So it all, like I'm saying, it all varies. And they're just calling me and say, hey, what is your process or what do you think?
What was Mingo,
I got a team
pick?
What'd you say?
Mingo was the 39th pick? So yeah. I'm just picturing, I can't remember who had the 38th pick, but then being like, Steve, we need a receiver. And you're like, Mingo stinks. Stay away from him. He's the worst.
Well, then I had a team call me this morning. A guy that they already had drafted. Hey, tell me what you like about him. And I'm kind of like, well, hell, you already got him, right? But anyway.
Yeah, I got this new toy. How do I play with it? Please tell me.
Whoa.
GMs wouldn't even say it that nicely, I don't think.
Oh, yeah, no, they wouldn't.
You're right.
All right. So that's how it went down. Nothing spectacular. Nothing like, oh, Steve is out here just – I got a lot of information sometimes. Sometimes I've gotten some stuff. I'm like, is this a trick?
Right.
Are you telling me this to see if I'm a snitch?
Definitely.
So I'm like, I'm not saying a word.
Well, it was great that the Panthers put out that video. It was the draft call to Mingo being like, if Smitty thinks you're good, we think you're all right. That was awesome.
Yeah. No pressure.
Just right in front of all the scouts. It's like, hey, you guys are done. I just made one phone call.
I was with Mark Ross, and he was like, yes, thanks, Steve. All these scouts did all this hard work, and they call you, and he was like, bang, huh? Right? But then I talked to Mr. Bisciotti for the Ravens, and I was like, you got my guy.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was exciting, right? So man, one of the things about this is it's really becoming one of these things as I am going through this. Man, I'm getting information, not to brag or pat myself on the back, but I'm getting this information that is really cool because I know I'm in a right direction.
Right.
And then I'm going, I was off or I was wrong or maybe this or maybe that. So it was really good. Like talk to the Green Bay Packers, and I text Coach LaFleur. It was like, look, you got my guy Grant DuBose, and so I was really happy for him. And we'll talk about that. How about this? These guys, before Aaron Rodgers, he's on the squad, and yet they still haven't gotten a receiver in the first round. However, they got every receiver and tight end they could possibly get. Now that Aaron Rodgers is not there, which I just found it super funny. I'm like, wow.
Listen,
talking about holding back a team.
I don't even want to hear that complaint from Rodgers fans anymore. He took all those wide receivers with him to the Jets. Clearly, they didn't need to draft first-round receivers. He thought they were fine. Garrett Wilson might be on the trade block by the end of this recording. They got too many receivers in the Jets now.
Well, Elijah Moore, you said, hey.
Out of there.
Hey, well, he talks, he breathes. Get him out of here. He was a mouthpiece. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
Right? So no, here's the interesting part. You trade Elijah Moore, but you get a younger, older version of what you hope Elijah Moore will become, named Randall Cobb.
Right. Well, Rodgers would never throw Elijah Moore the ball, so he will throw it to Randall Cobb. No questions asked.
Now, maybe only a 2-yard route, but he'll still throw it to him.
Correct, yeah.
Right? Because Christian Gonzalez may be locking him down in the slot.
Here for it. Very here for it.
Yeah. All right, so the Houston Texans actually put themselves in a good position. 12 draft picks in 2023 and 11 in 2024. Really interested with that because they make themselves instantly good.
Yeah, a lot of people are furious that they traded up for Will Anderson, and I don't understand that in the slightest. They wanted Will Anderson. They got a defensive-minded head coach this offseason who ran probably the best defense in football, one of the best defenses in football last year.
Absolutely.
We're both big 49ers guys, so we can say that. And and I don't know how people aren't like, they factored in that trade because most of the time you see that price paid for a quarterback. Well, they can't take Will Anderson and the quarterback without 2 picks up there. So that was all one big trade in my eyes.
Yeah.
I don't understand the overreaction to like this is a team that's been accruing assets over the last couple of years, really starting since post the Laramie Tunsil trade. They've just been restacking assets. So it's like if Will Anderson's the guy they really like, or CJ Stroud, if these are the 2 guys they want to build around, feels like 2 pretty good guys to use those darts on.
Yeah. And then they get some guys. The picks for me that it was first of all, when you got a center name, his first name is Juice, unbelievable, right?
I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
You know what also I loved? I loved how they also, when you see Juice's, like his profile, he's limber. He's already like down in the stands looking up, IDing the mic, changing a call. Like, I'm like, man, that's awesome. He just looks super athletic. Then they use the third round pick, Tank, Lil Tank. I'm calling him Lil Tank. And then the 6th pick with Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State.
Yep.
I thought that was really unique is because, one, they're solidifying some protection for their quarterback with an outstanding center. And then they get the receivers that they felt can take their offense to where it needs to be, which is having heartbeat.
Oh, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying that this offense is going to be ideal and competitive compared to the San Francisco 49ers, like who runs it better. I just believe that it gives them an opportunity to be able to have some layers to this offense with Tank, who's a very shifty, fast kid. He's light, but he's still fast. And then you got the big boy with Hutchinson as well. Hitchinson, that really can make things creative. They just add levels and layers that I can see this offense. And then next year too, all of a sudden, man, you're talking about. So I look at it. The Carolina Panthers are, and there's a few of these teams, man, you're probably about 3 years away from seeing really how good these draft picks can and will be.
Right.
But with the Texans, because of how much equity and how they have done things, they got immediate impact players, day one plug and play. And they got them in, I think it's probably safe to say in the first 4 rounds.
Oh yeah. And it's the story came out from Tank that CJ Stroud was the one who wanted him there. He went to the team right after he was drafted. He said, go get me Tank Dell. And I think I like that from Houston, where it's like, yeah, we just took this quarterback. If there's a receiver in this draft, he feels any sort of way about. Obviously not if it's a guy who's going to go 15th, but a guy that can realistically get, yeah, you should listen to the young guy. Otherwise, you're already setting them up to fail a little bit on some level.
Yep.
I agree. And I like it for Arizona, too. I do like how Arizona handled that number 3 pick. Like, they are probably going to be bad this year, and now they've got 2 picks.
Arizona has probably the worst roster in the league.
Right.
Arizona, and now they've got. I'm sitting back watching Arizona Cardinals, and I'm just going, man, I wonder how this is going to work out.
Well, they did kind of what Houston did on a much larger level. Kyler, it came out the week of the draft, a couple days before. Kyler was banging the table for Paris Johnson. They trade back to 12, and then they trade back up to 6 to get Paris Johnson, make him tackle 1 in this draft.
That's great. I think that's smart. That's smart. Don't let no new Call of Duty come out, though. All right, pick number 4 with the Indianapolis Colts. They get Anthony Richardson.
Just trying to. Sometimes I scout
cities.
Were
you not paying attention to this podcast?
Like I'm saying, sometimes I scout cities, and Indianapolis seems more like Levistown to me. But the Colts, you talk about speed earlier, they had one of the fastest drafts, not in terms of getting their picks in, but in terms of players selected. They took one of the 2 most athletic quarterbacks to ever go through the combine. They took one of, I think, the 12 most athletic corners in Julius Brents to ever go through the combine. And Josh Downs was extremely athletic. He's just short. That's the only thing on his RAS score that was even a little bit yellow. So they went athleticism, which I think if you've looked at the Colts the last couple of years, that defense has looked a little slower. That offense has looked much slower. So I think I don't even think this is the first draft. I think last year they did it too. So they're all in on being having more speed. And when you look at the division as a whole, Trevor Lawrence is the old man in that division.
Crazy, huh?
Very crazy. All the other 3 teams took quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds of this draft. So it's very interesting to see this arms race, if you can call it that, of the AFC South. They all feel like they can compete in the near future with the guys they've taken.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and I just look at, obviously, Brent's in the 2nd round, 3rd round. They get Josh Downs, which I'm a little confused with this pick with Josh Downs, even though I like the pick.
Why?
Because Anthony Richardson and the style of quarterback that he is, and one of the things that he has to work on is what?
Intermediate to short.
Yes. And you get a Josh Downs who, man, Josh is he's going to kill the mismatch game with a linebacker or a slot. And so he's going to require getting the ball quick into his hands, a 3-step drop. And so I'm just worried that may, at times, that may not be their bread and butter. However, that's Josh Downs' bread and butter.
Right.
So it's like you got a fast casual, but your quarterback is 5-star Michelin.
Right.
And so it's like, well, no, sir, no ball caps, collared shirt, Well, nah, man, I got on flip flops, no shirt on, and some swimming trunks, man. I'm just grabbing something while I'm at the beach,
Right,
it's a little bit confusing because we already know this type of offense, and all through the draft they talked about it, all through the pro days with Anthony Richardson is, man, you got to have an offense that's going to be down the field, and Josh Downs is not he is a down the field run and catch guy with the ball in his hands. He's not necessarily, and Anthony Pittman Jr. is not notoriously known for running a ton of go routes, either. So I just found it, I like the picks of players because it says, hey, we got a new head coach, we got a new quarterback. Let's all start on the right foot by giving him some tools, giving him some weapons. But it seems a little counterintuitive because you're trying to fix a problem with a flathead. The screw is flathead, but you got a Phillips in your hand.
Right.
So I'm not really sure how that's going to. I think there's going to be some growing pains.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say of Anthony Richardson, regardless of which receiver they took or however many they took. But one thing that, and I'm not comparing him to this quarterback, but I'm comparing draft strategies when those quarterbacks existed. Your post-Panthers career, they needed a receiver. They went out and they got Kelvin Benjamin because Cam wasn't the most accurate, so they wanted to get him a big target, which did not work. It wasn't the strategy. And now you see it kind of in Baltimore too. They've gone the opposite way of that. They've gotten shorter, quick guys, Hollywood Brown, Zay Flowers. And Lamar had that inaccurate tag coming out of college too, not to the extent of Anthony Richardson, but you've seen him work well with those kind of guys. So that's where it's like maybe it can work with Josh Downs. I don't think it's going to work day one, but I do think there is something there.
I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm just looking at the pick and I'm going, huh.
Right.
Okay.
And
it's like the guy, it's what's that show that Shaq and Kyrie Irving was on? Remember the basketball?
The movie.
The movie. It's like that. It's
Uncle
like
Drew. Uncle Drew.
Yeah, Uncle Drew. It's like, I'm not saying it's not going to work, but I'm just kind of looking at it and I'm going, he got on church socks and church shoes on the basketball court. Yeah, it may be Kyrie Irving crossing over folks, but it's still like I'm looking going, how's this going to work? That's all.
The look you gave me when I was knocking down jumpers, you're like, why is this working? This shouldn't be working.
Exactly. You read my mind. Exactly.
The other part of the Anthony Richardson pick that really bothered me.
Yeah.
Steichen's the coach in Indianapolis, right? He's not the Arizona one. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. He's going to have to prove to us, his name. Like, we're not looking at Arizona and a card. We're not looking at the Arizona Cardinals and Indianapolis Colts and like, man, these guys are blowing the doors off, folks. Like, I'm not really studying too much of. They're just just number 4 on my list of 32.
The narrative that immediately came out was Anthony Richardson went to a guy who made Jalen Hurts good. And it's like, if that takes away so much credit from the work Jalen Hurts has put in, and it was just like, this is not like Anthony Richardson may put in the same work and he may Shane Steichen look unbelievable, and Shane Steichen may be doing unbelievable things, but to give 100% of the credit to the coach,
that's what they do.
It's like Philly just gave Hurts a huge contract, so I think they think he's going to be okay without him too.
Maybe,
you know what I mean? Like I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff.
Yeah. All right, number 5, Seattle Seahawks. They acquired that from Denver, and they get our guy Devin Witherspoon. So when Devin when he was acquired, I called his agent, Reggie from CAA, and was like, man, congratulations. I'm really excited about this pick.
Oh, yeah.
Because we already know these Pete Carroll teams, when they've been really good, the Seattle Seahawks, when they're really good, is when they have an outstanding defense.
Mm-hmm.
And more or less is that secondary. When that secondary is locking people down and then you got that pass rush coming, it gets really, really good. And I think they're heading and trending back towards that direction. Because, one, they grabbed 2 running backs, one from UCLA, one from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just telling me right there, they want to run the football. Right, they want to establish the run. They want to play keep away football. But man, the sneaky good one was the safety out of New Mexico. You put Reed, I believe his name is Reed the third from New Mexico. You put him back there with Jamal Adams. Well, we all know Jamal Adams is that type of player where he's interchangeable. He's primarily going to give you more run support and active in the whole defense versus being a cover guy. Reed is a cover guy too. He'll come up and hit you, but he'll come up and hit you. He'll also cover you. So you add in Witherspoon, and then all the other guys that they have. Bro, this defense is turning into something really, really dangerous. And then they got the kid Hall from Auburn.
Oh yeah, the edge.
The edge guy. I don't care what they say. Power and speed. That's all I see when I watch this film is speed and power, power and speed, speed and power. So you know what that is? He's a straight up troublemaker.
Yeah.
Right? And it just goes back, man. It just goes back to that the Legion of Boom. And the reason why the Legion of Boom were able to be the Legion of Boom is they had a pretty good D-line too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they were solid at all three levels, which you've seen them attack over the last few years. And they also said that defense fed off their running game. And I think that's why you see such an emphasis on getting they took running back last year in Kenneth Walker III. They took
great pick.
Yeah, they took Charbonnet.
Not healthy all the time, though.
No, I mean, he came in with an injury and he got banged up again at the end of the year. But even that, he was healthier than Rashad Penny's shown he could have been capable of throughout the years. True. And you even saw the team that signed Rashad Penny also go out and get a running back in this draft. Not one in the class itself, but traded a pick for a guy from Detroit that was not potentially used correctly.
We're going to talk about that one because I called my shot on air and it happened the next day.
Love that. But this is, you said I wasn't paying attention for the Colts. It hit me like prime Tyson right hook in the temple when this pick was announced. I couldn't believe I didn't see this one coming. I thought for sure the Seahawks were going to Jalen Carter. And then the second it was announced it was Witherspoon, I thought back to our conversation with Witherspoon and how much you stressed the visit to Seattle and how much he talked about his visit to Seattle. And I was like, man, both Witherspoon and Gonzalez talk so highly of the Raiders. I got so fixated on the Raiders taking one of them. They didn't take either of them. And the Seahawks took Witherspoon. I was like, that was a great pick. And I didn't see it coming. It was right in my face.
So I talked to Witherspoon's agent, and he told me that the general manager for the Seattle Seahawks right before probably that afternoon or that probably midday took a walk. And you know what he was listening to on his walk?
A little cut to it.
And said, man, after listening to that, if he was available, they said they were going to get him. How about that, huh?
Love that.
How about that? And he also said it was the questions of Coley that really took it over the top. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to let you know, hey, we're doing our due diligence.
People are listening. I'm hearing some GMs might need to be hitting us up. Well, they're already hitting you up, but us as a unit, perhaps, getting just a couple more perspectives, a couple more eyeballs on the draft.
Yeah, I like it.
But yeah, I mean, Seattle
won, and they got my guy JNS. That was a fantastic pick because you have a slot receiver. And then he gets to learn from Tyler Lockett.
Yep.
You got Swole Bones running his routes on the outside. And they got a receiver from small school, Western somewhere. I can't remember his name. But he's a guy, man, he just doesn't get it. He hasn't really prevailed. So you see in the 20th pick that the Seattle Seahawks move up and get their guy that they've targeted, and they realize this guy can make us better. With Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, and I love that pick.
Why do you think he was still on the board at 20? Because I thought for sure he would. And receivers typically do at least one goes, even in a weak, quote unquote, weak receiver class. One will go top 10, and the first one was taken at 20, and then I think the next four picks were all receivers.
Yeah. Well, here's why. For me, you talk about the Cardinals at 6. Their quarterback says, hey, I want to tackle. So they move down and then they moved back up. So they move back up in the 6th. That starts to make things different. Here's the thing about the draft is the same. You've done fantasy football. I've done it once or twice. And that's why I'm not a big fantasy football guy. But here's the thing. Man, when you're on that clock, you can have all the strategy you want. But when that clock starts going and it's on you, people, you overthink and overprocess.
Oh,
you start to question it and go, I'm not sure. Teams started doing some things that you were like, what? Huh? Right?
Well, that
number
team that team that traded 6,
yeah.
do you think they were, because a lot of people had Witherspoon going to Detroit. Do you think once Seattle took him, that's when they were like, all right, let's regroup. We need a breath. We need to reassess the board.
Absolutely, they did that, but they also had another plan that I think teams have looked at this draft, and they're saying, you know what? Like there's some draft picks that they were making some picks, and I'm going, wow, okay, I get that. Like the Rams didn't have a lot of picks, right?
Right.
Also, the Rams also didn't have a kicker on the team either, right? And I know the Rams picked the player. Is my board picked them in the second quarter, right? So the Rams picked who? The Rams
they took Moody, right? The kicker.
Yeah, they took him a while back, but I'm trying to figure out the Rams took someone.
Oh, they took Avila, didn't they? The guard?
Yeah, they took Avila, which was Avila. So on my notes, man, he quick feet. He's the best swing position in this year's draft.
Interesting.
Right? He could play center as well.
Yeah.
But they also took a interior lineman, D lineman. And the first thing I said was, wow, they realized they made a mistake by letting Sebastian Joseph Day go. Mm-hmm. Sebastian Joseph Day goes to the Chargers, and they found themselves in a pickle realizing just because a guy doesn't live up to the full expectation that you believe, doesn't mean you could just – the plug and play guy you're going to replace him will give you the same or better work production. It just doesn't happen.
Well, I also think they were like, well, everyone looks great next to Aaron Donald, which is largely true, but he's also an aging man. And so I think they looked at that and they were like, let's not make him do everything on our defensive line.
This is Bandit. He founded Underdog Fantasy so that humans who really love sports could play with their friends and win some big prizes. Tell your human to go to UnderdogFantasy.com today.
So you got 6, 7. I knew the Raiders were going to take somebody defensively. They have to. They need some help on defense. When you're talking about the AFC West, the AFC West has Kansas City. You want a team. The Raiders, they need to just go in the defensive direction to slow somebody down, whether it's Denver, right? And we can say whatever we want to think about Russell Wilson. We can say whatever we want. Sean Payton is going to make that team better.
Right.
Then you add Justin Herbert. He has made that team better. Mm-hmm. And then you got Patrick Mahomes. So you got to have somebody in the AFC just to slow them down. It's just a thought. That the thought of it is easier said than done, but you got to give yourself an opportunity. And so getting Wilson from Texas Tech was really something that they need to focus on, and an impact guy.
Yeah, and you're seeing more teams not just be like, all right, we have 2 edge rushers, we're good. You're seeing more teams work in rotations. I feel like a lot of this draft was teams that already had a decent edge or two DNs go, you know what, we want more of a rotation.
Jacksonville did that.
Jacksonville did it. New England did it with their second round pick. You saw a lot of teams. Cincinnati took an edge up. Yeah, they took Miles Murphy.
Cincinnati. I thought Cincinnati did. Cincinnati did some quiet, sneaky things.
Yeah.
Let me finish up this thought too. That
Mhm.
I got sidetracked when I was talking about fantasy football. Man, fantasy football. The NFL draft ain't nothing but the billionaires fantasy football draft, bro.
That's a fact.
And it's tough. Right? We all got to play until you get hit in the mouth. Right? The regular draft is just like fantasy draft. Man, when you're under the clock, you get a little nervous. The Atlanta Falcons. Did something. What'd you think about that? You liked it? Thought it was awful?
Well, here's a question. Here's something I wanted to bring up. So
Okay,
two
bring
running
it up
backs went before a single wide receiver in this draft, which is it drives people up a wall.
Yeah.
One thing we've seen the last couple of years, teams have been getting out of their rookie wide receivers before paying them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the whole thought behind taking a rookie running back. It's cost effective, run them into the ground, don't give them their second contract.
Hey, the Atlanta Falcons, they're going to run you into the ground, that's for sure.
Without question. But it's like, if you're just looking for offense, if you're just looking for help on offense, and you think this guy's the best offensive skill position player in this draft, why wouldn't you take him?
Yeah.
So that's and that's kind of where I'm at with Detroit too. I think Detroit was a team I thought was going to take JSN. The whole draft, I thought they were going to take him at 6. They
could not take JSN, bro.
Well, they didn't. They took Jahmyr Gibbs.
But here's why they couldn't take JSN. St. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
What position? He plays wide receiver, but what position does he play?
He's a slot. He works the middle of the field.
There's
two middles of the field, though.
Yes, but then they have
the gambling
Williams.
Man. Yeah, Jameson Williams.
They have James. They have
the parlay
Jameson
kid. Yeah.
They have Jameson. They have look at you. You put that LA hat on you, and everybody's catching strays, huh? Look at you, huh?
Big switch up from my normal routine. Yeah.
It makes you look at you. You get the LA hat on you. You put the LA hat on. You got the Jordan cardigan on, man. You sure you ain't playing no game. No. Next thing you know, you're gonna start shaving.
No, you don't want to see that. No.
JSN is a slot guy. You can't have too many of the same players. That's like the Jacksonville Jaguars and their receiver. You have too many of the same players, man. You only can scheme so much.
For sure. I mean, both the receivers you listed, one of them gets banged up pretty frequently, and the other one has played 4 NFL games. I can't remember how many Jameson played last year, and we know he's missing 6 at least next year. So that's where it's like, I don't hate having some insurance there, but we'll get to them. Atlanta, we know they're going to run the ball. They've taken receivers. They've taken receivers every other pick before this, so they didn't need that.
I was surprised they didn't take any receivers, but then Matthew Bergeron, man, there are people saying that they're looking at him as either the second or the top left tackle in the draft.
Mm-hmm. People are really high on him.
But he's gonna be switching to guard, bro.
Yeah, he
will not be playing tackle.
They brought back McGarry,
and he's a guard. I'm just telling you, he's a guard, right? And you could go ahead and put that in the file and bring it back out. He will be a guard playing. But what they did is they got their running back, so they're going to play keep away, control the clock, control the ball. Bergeron is going to protect. I particularly am not sold on London and Ritter. I am not sold on those two guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to be sold one way or the other on London because he goes to a team that doesn't throw the ball. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I know what this guy is already. And Ritter, I just wasn't super high on coming out of the draft in the first place. So we'll see.
Yeah. And got my guy Clark Phillips out there, so he's going to be locking London down in practice. So I'm looking forward to that. So I think that was a good pick. Philadelphia Eagles, they go ahead and at number 9, they move up and they get Jalen Carter, which Hey, I think it was a good pick. You talk about this team. They had 8 picks, and 5 out of 8 were all defense. So that is letting you know that they understand. They had the Super Bowl in their hands, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And ultimately what held them back? The defense.
Yeah, holding.
Yes.
Literal holding.
The defense. And so they're moving forward saying, look, we already know what we have on offense. We have to solidify our defense. We got to get with some young talent as our older players who are aging out, who can still play, but they're on the pitch count.
Right. And they're a big team that likes to draft a year ahead for need. They cut both corners this year. They brought them back under different deals. So I'm not surprised. I thought they were going to go Ringo earlier, honestly, because I knew they were going to take a Georgia defender, and he was the best corner out of Georgia this year. So I thought he was going to go much higher. I also didn't think Nolan Smith was going to fall into their laps at the end of the first round.
He has some concerns
for sure, and he's a lighter edge for the NFL. Obviously, it worked at Georgia just fine. And if your concern is he's too light, and he feasted playing next to Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, well, you don't have that problem in the NFL because they're also here. So it's terrifying. I love the anonymous GM quotes that you hear. Guys are furious at Howie Roseman's getting praised. Listen, he was just in the Super Bowl. He just rebuilt a team that had been to a Super Bowl 5 years ago, pretty much from scratch, brought him back to the Super Bowl.
And made some tough decisions.
Incredibly tough decisions.
Rebuilding, too. To say, hey, Doug Peterson, we love you. We know what you're capable of, but we're running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that your time is up, and making that call, which some people were surprised, some people weren't.
And he made a tough call on Wentz too. Like it's easy to sit here and be like, oh yeah, of course you get rid.
That wasn't.
But a lot of teams wouldn't just give up on their second overall pick that they traded up for it as quickly as they did.
He was like, no, I got some suckers at some other places.
So that's where he gets credit. That's where he gets credit. He pulled the wool over someone's eyes. I think someone gets credit for that. But,
that's true.
Much like everyone else, I love the Eagles draft. It was the rest of the NFL needs to stop letting them get players from the best college defense of all time. That would be my suggestion to the rest of the league. You want him to stop getting praised, stop making his job easier.
Yeah.
And I mean, we didn't even talk about it yet. They got DeAndre Swift too.
Oh, well, I saw that pick coming. I saw that trade coming, but DeAndre Swift going to the Philadelphia Eagles benefits the Philadelphia Eagles in such a big way, because now it's no longer. Now the question is going to be, can DeAndre Swift stay healthy?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to utilize him. He is a 4-down back. He's not going to be splitting time. It's not going to be, well, he's third and fourth, and he's going to be playing all the time. So I hope he stay healthy. I think he does have a chance too, because look, all his home games are on grass, natural surfaces.
Right.
So it's not on turf. So that really helps.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Number 10 with the Chicago Bears.
Yep.
Man, when I wrote on my notes for the Chicago Bears, I wrote this because I was like, look, you got 4 picks inside the top 64. What I put is no risky picks, impact players day one. And you know what the Chicago Bears did? They did that exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Then they made some moves that I thought was really interesting. They already had the 53rd pick. But then they switched picks with the Jags at 56, which literally makes it literally a back-to-back pick. So they don't have to, like some other teams, move up and give up so much equity to get the guy that hits, that's right there that they want. And so they got 7 day one starters out of their 10 picks.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and we talked about D tackle earlier. They got Dexter from Florida, so they still addressed that hole.
Yes.
They got Pickens, who's a D lineman. I'm 99% sure.
Then they got Wright, the offensive tackle 10. For Tennessee. Right. This may sound so silly and stupid, but man, when I look at the Chicago Bears, what they did with those first 4 picks, I'm like, man, the Chicago Bears in the modern era of football, man, they got Disney fast passes, bro.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, line? Not for us. We don't stand in line. And I just thought that was really good, really smart. And it was worth the money, right? They were patient. They were there to help some of the players that they needed. And they were very specific on their needs. So it was not like, oh, who we going to pick? Oh, let's get this guy, right? So they needed an offensive tackle, corner, center, guard, D tackle, edge. And they were able to get a lot of those guys. Right. And they weren't reaches or guys that are like, man, what are you thinking? They were guys where you go, man, that's a great pick. I like that pick. Smart pick. Great pick.
Now, if you're a Bears fan, go to the other side of the trade. Obviously, Panthers feel good about what they've done with that trade. If you're a Bears fan right now, do you think we've come out of this already with enough? Obviously, there's some stuff coming down the pipe as well, but are you happy with the haul so far?
I do like I think this is this helps you, especially with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers leaving. Mm-hmm. You don't know what Jordan Love is going to be. Minnesota still has Kirk Cousins, so you can really say like, hey, we still have a chance. Yep. I don't believe Minnesota did themselves any good. They still didn't address any secondary defensive issues that they have. They're sitting at this whole – I don't understand. They're sitting at this – they believe their scheme is going to outwit people, and I think we're going to find out. People are giving them, I think, a B+. We're going to have to wait and see how this pans out for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I mean, I know people, and that's when you have the 23rd and 102nd pick, that's a big gap.
Yeah, but hold on, though. Hold on. Those picks aren't like, man, you saying it like those picks are like, Christmas is on the 25th of December? Who? When? Why? You've been knowing this.
For sure. But that's where I was adding to your point. A lot of teams
would have. The 25th of December every year.
Right.
Now,
a lot of teams.
The day is maybe, it could be, dicey. It could sneak up on you, but it's still the 25th.
Right. My point was going to be a lot of teams maybe trade back from 23, so they have 2 more bites at the apple before 102. So you're not waiting that long if you have that many needs.
Oh, they felt they didn't have that many needs.
No, they sure did.
So, all right, 11th pick, Tennessee Titans. They get a tackle for Northwestern.
Also maybe a guard.
Yes, but he could play.
Right, yeah. Well, this is my question. He's a Chicagoland kid, went to Northwestern. Yep. The Bears passed on him. Is that a red flag at all? They've watched him literally his whole life.
No, because what you said is he's a guard. We know Chicago needs a tackle.
Okay.
They need like a camel in the desert needs water. So they have to go to tackle that is not possibly playing guard.
Right.
They need a guy that they know is playing tackle.
Right.
So I think that's the difference. Is these little small things are what people like sometimes don't understand. And the Tennessee Titans, they got to pick anything that can block anybody because their offensive line is struggling.
Correct.
They let people go on their offensive line Like they were in the Super Bowl last year. Like, hey, we just trimming the fat. We good. Like the Tennessee Titans are stuck in the 80s and 90s. But their bell cow is Derrick Henry, who we're hearing all these rumors of possibly moving on. Mm-hmm. And then Will Levis falls in their lap. Man, it is the sign of the times. Either the world is coming to an end or the Tennessee Titans have realized times are changing and we need to improve and change things. I've never seen a team who is known for running the football literally talk without telling us, hey, our team's changing and we're doing it today.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the strategy. I like that there had been reports that they were trying to trade up to 3. And then Houston just outbid them. And that's where you see they're both in the NFC South. They both needed a quarterback. That's why Houston had to pay the price they did if they wanted both those players. Tennessee, they lost. They watched their other 2 division mates get quarterbacks, and so they said, hey, we got to go tackle. We'll wait if Levis is still there in the second round, or who knows, maybe they would have went Hendon Hooker. That would have sold some jerseys at least coming from Tennessee to Tennessee.
I'm not sure they would have went with Hendon Hooker because they
not in the second, but just in general. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying I don't think Tennessee is in a position like the Detroit Lions.
Oh, I agree.
To sit and wait. The Detroit Lions go ahead and move and get Jahmyr Gibbs, which when they made that pick, I said, wow, they're telling us something. They're telling y'all something. And a lot of people are noticing. I said, man, they're moving on. They are drafted. They are getting rid of this guy, DeAndre Swift, because they already, and the reason I go to that is Jamal Williams isn't re-signed.
Yep.
And then you don't. I'm looking at running back is not on their draft needs.
They brought in
Montgomery.
Montgomery.
Need a corner. They need a tight end. They need a linebacker. They need a quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
And an edge rusher. And at 12, and trading back, they go, this guy we can't. So that lets you know, just like Tennessee, things are changing.
I think you saw a couple of teams go, we need someone that can help us score touchdowns. We're not really too concerned what the 2 letters next to their names say. You saw it with Buffalo when they took Kincaid. They needed a pass catcher. They didn't get one of the top 4 or 5 receivers. They said, we just need someone who can catch a pass and maybe score a touchdown. I think Detroit did the same thing.
So let's talk about it. We all out of kilter, and I don't care. Mm-hmm. People have to figure it out. So the Buffalo Bills, you know why the Buffalo Bills get Kincaid?
Because they thought he was good.
Because of all the other guys they keep bringing back or bringing in to play in the slot. Kincaid is not going to block a soul. Sorry, bro. He's not. That's just not in his DNA. He is a pass-catching tight end who will have to learn how to block. And Dawson Knox is not knocking her down in a blocking category either.
Right.
But what you can do is now Dalton Kincaid has the ability to be that slot presence that you're missing.
Right.
And they're also telling you that their number 2 wide receiver, Gabe Davis, they were hoping to get more out of him, and they're not.
Right.
So they're saying, look, we're not going to wait to see if Gabe improves this year. If he does or he doesn't, we could keep Gabe for this year. And then we can still have a guy in the slot that can actually do something and apply some pressure on the defense. Because Cole Beasley, when he was younger, fantastic. As he got older, it's like, look, we need somebody else. Isaiah McKenzie?
Yep.
Didn't work out. It's not working. Right? Then they go, hey, we got to run at the playoffs. Cole, come back.
Right.
Then they trade for what's the running back from the Colts?
Oh yeah.
Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
They trade, and what do? They put him at punt return, and they put him at kickoff return, and they put him in the passing game. They are looking for playmakers the same way the Kansas City Chiefs were able to really pull away from them, as well as we need playmakers. We need guys that are going to apply pressure to the defense, and that's why the Buffalo Bills go out and get Dalton Kincaid. I think it's an excellent pick.
Yeah, I'm not going to praise one team for doing something, then knock another team for doing essentially the same thing in my eyes. I think they looked at who's the best pass catcher on the board. We don't care what position he plays. And I think they still like Khalil Shakir, the kid from Boise they took last year.
They do. He was hurt, so it took him some time to get there. So it's not his file is still short, right? And they're still evaluating. But I think they believe
he showed some flashes.
Yes, what they've seen so far. Hey, adding Dalton. Here's what adding Dalton does too. Adding him gives Shakir an opportunity to go one-on-one, right? So it opens it up one-on-one. We already know Stephon Diggs is going to get the number 1 and number 2 corner.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid is going to get and Knox, both of those guys, 2 and 3 corner, 3 and 4 corner. Safety. And so you're gonna get a safety. So you're gonna get a lesser quality corner on your young guy. That's gonna help him develop.
Right. And
I love the tactic.
If you're a team like Buffalo, it's kind of the opposite of the Rodgers conversation. You need to be doing everything to help Josh Allen. That seems to be the goal.
Allow him to take some of that load off of him, that responsibility, that hero ball that he has to play. Allow him to reprogram himself so he's not doing that.
But the Lions taking Gibbs, everyone was furious. I just like a team, because that's part of the conversation too. Coming into the draft, not from us, but from the draft world at large, it was called a weak draft. Whether or not that's the case, we have to wait 5 years. We just got the 5th-year options for the 2019, 2020 class.
2020 class.
Yeah, 12 were picked up. So that means 20 guys will be hitting free agency or getting tagged for more money than they would be on their 5th-year option. So that tells you how great. And I'm sure there are a lot of A+ if you look at those draft grades from the day after the first round. I guarantee it.
A+, great. Oh, great job.
Yeah, filled a need. Got a high motor guy. Got a guy with a lot of upside. And what happens when that upside doesn't get reached?
Yeah,
they get cut.
They don't. Yeah, they don't. We've declined to re-sign you.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's not you, it's me. But I also love Sam Laporte, the tight end.
Oh, yeah. Iowa tight ends, baby. There's no reason to draft anywhere else.
Ooh, baby. Outstanding pick. Mm-hmm. Man, very athletic. Was crazy. I talk to some people. They think he could impact the game better than Dalton.
Really?
Yeah, they said he could play.
They took Jack Campbell too at 20, and people were pissed about that. And it's like,
yeah, that was the only thing. The Jack Campbell thing kind of threw me off, but it didn't throw me off. The reason it threw me, it did and didn't, because I was still in shock from the Gibbs haymaker. Right. So I was kind of like, I was woozy, right? I was trying to figure out, right? Like, it's kind of like, zoom in, hit my, it's like that right there. My Mike Tyson, man, my Mike Tyson. That's what it was. So I was still kind of glazy. I was still kind of glazed, but then they go with Campbell, Laporte. Man, Brancher Hooker was a sneaky one too.
Yeah, like that. I saw a lot of people in the 3rd round being like, oh, if you reconstruct the Lions draft, if you take Branch, take him at 12. If you take Gibbs, take him at 34 or whatever. Now it makes more sense. And it's like, one thing I really hate, and especially as a Patriot fan, I hear it a lot. Oh, you could have got this guy later. Well, obviously not if a team just took him. Someone else was probably also thinking that way. So yeah, Detroit was picking 6 picks later. Maybe Gibbs would have been there. They like the player. I'm never gonna.
And he was available at that time. So, and what I really like about Branch is he slipped because he's a hybrid player. He's a
Right.
nickel. He's safety, but he plays nickel. I thought it was a high value pick, and Hooker too is a high value pick where you're gonna get something out of these guys so much later that you don't want to risk it. Risk not getting the guy, and then you have to. Then now all of a sudden you're sitting there going, now you go, who can we get? It's like it's the hey, we're hungry, we're on the exit. All we know to the next one. You think, it's 3 miles, and you realize no, it's 12 miles. And what's next? Arby's.
Poor Arby's. They're never going to sponsor this show.
No. Never. No.
I like the Lions draft. I don't care if I'm the only person in the world. I
think it was extremely beneficial, and I was shocked, but I'm still blown away because I really do think the more and more I'm watching and listening and observing Dan Campbell, he's showing us. It seems like that organization is getting back on the up and up, which we can never really say they were on the up and up. So I think that's the part that's great.
Yeah. Did Brian like the draft?
Brian, you're like, Brian, before you even finish, I couldn't even ask him. He hit me with 2 thumbs up, like I cut him off. He hit me with thumbs up, like I cut him off, and he was flipping me the bird in traffic. It was quick. It was super quick.
The Campbell pick too. Every year we get to about week 9, and all I hear is there's no linebackers in this league anymore. So a team takes the most athletic linebacker in the draft. Everyone's like, you can't take him there. What do you mean? There's no other linebackers in the draft. There's none in the league. They got one. Well, like, what's the issue here? If every team drafted the same, it would be boring. So boring. The Lions were anything but boring.
Yeah, they were extremely exciting. Listen, since Dan Campbell's been a coach, they've become extremely exciting, and I'm shocked. Got to go with the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers, they accumulate 13 picks. And I really like what the Green Bay Packers are doing because they're also telling us some stuff as well, right? They pick some guys in the later rounds, right? First of all, let's get to the real athletes of the team, right? Jalen Reed from Michigan State, Grant DuBose, and then they get Wicks from Virginia Tech. They get all these wide receivers.
Just Virginia. Regular Virginia, which is always shocking that they have a football team.
But Jalen Reed, I'm really interested in that because I didn't really have a comp, but I started watching him. And one of the things that Reed really showed me that this may shock people is I think Reed with the ball in his hands is just as good as Zay Flowers with the ball in his hands.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying he will be, and I'm not even saying Jalen Flowers is going to be the next. I just know when I look at Flowers, I'm impressed. When I look at Reed, I was like, man, he looks like he has that escapability.
Mm-hmm.
He has that just his run after the catch that I'm really impressed with. That I said Jalen Reed has Zay Flowers after the catch type of run after the catch. That's really impressive. And then what's that? Lou Nicholson, the running back from Central Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
If he can do just half of what he did in college, you know who he's going to start taking carries and reps away? A.J. Dillon.
Oh, wow.
Listen, A.J. Dillon, first of all, I was looking at the numbers last year when I was in their training camp. I was like, bro, I'm watching this film. And so I hit the research team up and I said, hey, is that, Aaron Jones seems to be having less and less reps last year. And they was like, they were like, I'm not sure, Steve. They looked it up and they said, man, the back half of the season, he did. AJ started to show some things. They gave AJ more and more opportunities, and he didn't do well with it.
No, he didn't.
And you started to see they started going back to Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
A.J. Dillon does not pay attention. I believe in training camp, Nichols will take some of his reps. And A.J. Dillon A.J. Dillon has not been hitting the hole well either. He's been hitting that hole like a little bit like Trenton Richardson was when he was with Cleveland. I was out there missing that hole. Hey, what? Where's my paperwork, huh? Hey, have you seen my headphones? You got a million? Oh, sorry. I'm telling you, bro. Telling you.
This might be my favorite range of the draft because you start to see a lot of rear view mirror GMing. Everyone's looking at the team right behind them like, who do I think they're going to take? Because I feel very, very confident the Patriots, who were picking behind Green Bay, wanted Van Ness. That's who every insider I've read, every draft information I gathered before, the Patriots wanted Van Ness, and the Packers take him one pick before. Now, I also think even if Van Ness is still on the board, the Patriots are trading just to screw over the Jets because they knew the Jets wanted to tackle, and they knew Pittsburgh also wanted to tackle, so they wanted to give the Jets a worse pick. But I do think Green Bay was like, we know the Patriots like him. He's a type of edge that fits in both of our systems. We're just going to take him, make sure New England doesn't get him.
So I heard this story. Anytime Bill can screw over the Jets, he does it.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm saying this like deeply rooted.
Have you heard the Vernon Golston story? So Vernon Golston was this crazy athletic edge that was coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah. I do remember.
Well, for the listeners,
yeah, okay.
And it was the year the Patriots, I think they had the 10th pick. Maybe it was 7th or 10th. And Belichick was just gassing up Vernon Golston. It was the only player he was talking about that whole draft process. And the Jets were like, we weren't even looking at this guy, but if Belichick likes him, we're just going to take him, kind of like sight unseen. They draft him. The Patriots never wanted Vernon Golston. They take Gerard Mayo, who's still with the Patriots.
Pretty darn good football player.
And Vernon Golston does not. I think he was cut year 3 because the Jets were like, we didn't know who you were. You don't fit here. And Belichick will do whatever he can to make sure the Jets have a miserable experience.
Yeah, well, they keep falling for the cheese.
Yeah, different regimes. It's not even the same regime with the Jets. Like it's not. He has no. It's just like he just doesn't like that team. It's very funny.
Hey, we got 2 episodes. So if you got to go to the potty, if you need to go ahead and take your kids somewhere, or man, you need to just get up and stretch your legs. I get it. This is the time where you take a break. Don't worry. Coley will be back. And yes, he's wearing that red LA Dodgers hat. Let's go!
Cut to it. Let's get down to it.